Excuse me. The report of a dentist in 1916 who said someone had filed down the teeth was ignored. As we will learn below, in 1953, the fact that it was a total hoax was uncovered. This line basically taught that there is no moral code, our ancestors were savage, and civilization only progressed by violence against others. It therefore led to extreme nationalism, racism, and warfare through nations, Nazism, and fascism. Evolution was declared to involve natural selection, and in the struggle to survive, the fittest will win out at the expense of their rivals. Friedrich von Bernhard, a German military officer, wrote a book in 1909 extolling evolution and appealing to Germany to start another war. Heinrich von Trench, a Prussian militarist, loudly called for war by Germany in order to fulfill its evolutionary destiny. Heinrich von Trench, Politics, Volume 1, page 6667. Their teachings were fully adopted by the German government, and it only waited for a pretext to start the war. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 59. Young, The Darwin Debate, in Marxism Today, Volume 26, April 1982, page 21. Communist teaching declared that evolutionary change, which taught class struggle, came by a revolution and violent uprisings. Communist dogma declared that Lamarckism, inheritance of acquired characteristics, is the mechanism by which this is done. Mendelian genetics was officially outlawed in Russia in 1949, since it was recognized as disproving evolution. Communist theories also settled on synthetic speciation instead of natural selection or mutations as the mechanism for species change. L. B. Halstead, Museum of Errors in Nature, November 20th, 1980, page 208. This concept is identical to the sudden change theory of Goldschmidt and Gould, which we will mention later. John Dewey, 1859 to 1952, was another influential thought leader. A vigorous Darwinist, Dewey founded and led out in the progressive education movement which so greatly affected U.S. educational history. But it was nothing more than careful animal training. Samuel E. Blumfield, N.E.A. Trojan Horse in American Education, 1984, page 43. The purpose was to indoctrinate the youth into evolution, humanism, and collectivism. In 1933, Dewey became a charter member of the American Humanist Association and its first president. Its basic statement of belief published that year as the Humanist Manifesto became the unfolded framework of teaching in most schools and textbooks. The evolutionists recognized that they must gain control of all public education. Sir Julian Huxley quoted in Soltax and Charles Callender, Evolution After Darwin, 3 volumes, 1960. Historically, American education was based on morals and standards, but Dewey declared that in order to be progressive, education must leave the past and evolve upward to new modern concepts. The Scott trial, July 10th to July 21st, 1925, was a powerful aid to the cause of evolution, yet scientific discoveries were not involved. That was fortunate, since except for a single tooth later disproved and a few other frauds, the evolutionists had nothing worthwhile to present. The world's most famous court trial, a complete stenographic report, 1925. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, had been searching for someone they could use to test the Butler Act, which forbade the teaching of evolution in the public schools in Tennessee. John Scopes, 24 at the time, volunteered for the job. He later privately admitted that he had never actually taught evolution in class, so the case was based on a fraud. Never dare oppose evolutionists. The entire trial, while reportedly as the Tennessee Monkey Trial was the Scopes trial, evolutionists turned the Dayton trial into a ridiculous circus in order to frighten later state governments into banning creationism in their school curricula. Sorry about this. The Tennessee Monkey Trial was presented to the public as something of a comic opera. A trained ape was even sent in to walk around unchained on the streets of Dayton, but the objective was deadly serious, and they succeeded very well. Ridicule, sides, issues, misinformation, and false statements were used to win the battle. Nebraska Man debunked, 1922-1928. In 1922, a single molar tooth was found and named Hesperopithecus, or Nebraska Man. An artist was told to make an ape-man picture based on the tooth, which went around the world. Nebraska Man was a key evidence at the Scopes trial in July 1925. The evolutionists had little else to offer. Grafton Smith, one of those involved in the publicizing Nebraska Man, was knighted for his efforts. In return to the site, in 1928, they found the rest of the skeleton and discovered the tooth belonged to an extinct pig. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 322. In 1972, living specimens of the same pig were found in Paraguay. George Macready Price, 1870 to 1763, had a master's degree but not in science, yet he was the staunchest opponent of evolution in the first half of the 20th century. He produced 38 books and numerous articles to various journals. Price was the first person to carefully research into the cumulative findings of geologists, and it discovered that they had no evidence to support their claims about strata and fossils. Since his time, the situation has not changed. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 194. Along with mutations, the study of fossils and strata ranks as the leading potential evidence supporting evolutionary claims, but no transitional species have been found. Ancient species, aside from the extinct ones, were like those today, except larger, and strata are generally missing and at times switched with the younger strata below older, because there is no fossil strata evidence supporting evolution. The museum Oliver Wendell Holmes, Jr., 1841 to 1935, powerfully affected the U.S. Supreme Court in both viewpoint and legal precedent. He was forceful in his position and a leading justice for 30 years. The prevalent view since his time is that law is a product of evolution and should continually evolve in accordance with the social policy. But this, of course, keeps taking America further and further from the U.S. Constitution. Vladimir Nikolai Lenin, 1870-1924, and Joseph Stalin, 1879-1953. Lenin was an ardent evolutionist who in 1918 violently overthrew the Russian government and founded the Soviet Union. According to Yarotsky, a close friend of his, at an early age while attending a Christian Orthodox school, Stalin began to read Darwin and became an atheist. E. Yarotsky, Landmark in the Life of Stalin, 1940, page 8 and 9. Stalin was headed for the Soviet Union from 1824 to 1953. During these years, he was responsible for the death of millions of Russians who refused to yield to his slave state tactics. The Soviet Union under Stalin was an outstanding example of Darwinian principles extended to an entire nation. Austin H. Clarke, 1880 to 1954, an ardent evolutionist, was one of the staff of the Smithsonian Institute from 1908 to 1950, and a member of several important scientific organizations. A prominent scientist, he authored several books and about 600 scientific articles. But after years of honestly trying to deal with the fact that there is no evidence for cross-species change, in 1830 he wrote an astounding book, The New Evolution, Zoogenesis. In it he cited facts after facts disproving the possibility that major types of plants and animals could have evolved from one another. The book was breathtaking and could not be answered by any evolutionist. His alternative proposal, zoogenesis, was the very major type of plant and animal must have evolved not from one another but directly from dirt and water. A. Clarke, The New Evolution, Zoogenesis, page 30, 1930, page 211. The evolutionary world was stunned into silence, for he was an expert. He knew all the reasons why transspecies evolution was impossible. Well, we'll leave it there. All this information, we've got up to page 44. All this information can be found in The Evolution Cruncher by Vance Farrell. And it's 965 to you, and I'll try and do some more in the next few days on this topic. So I hope it's informative to you. All the information, I say again, was from The Evolution Cruncher, Vance and Farrell. They give you permission to use the material and to spread the information, and I hope that you found all the information a help. If you go to evolution-facts.org, evolution-facts.org, Evolution Cruncher by Vance Farrell, BA, MA, published by Evolution Facts Incorporated, Box 300, Altamont, TN 37301, USA. So this is Vance Farrell's text. Take care now and God bless.